Hi guys, my name is Ben Guilford. I'm the owner of the Firebrick Company, and I'm putting this video together for you today to answer a really commonly asked question. And that is, can you put a gas burner in one of our wood-fired ovens? So we get this question a lot. People reaching out to us, they found our wood-fired ovens online and they've fallen in love with them. And they'll call in and say, look, I love the oven, but I was thinking about putting a gas burner in it. Can I do that? And so I just wanted to sort of dig into this a little bit today, talk to you about it. Hopefully I'll make it cohesive, something that you can follow along and enjoy, because it is a complex answer to the question. Now, one of the things I want to make really clear is I am not anti-gas at all, okay? I love gas. Our stove at home is powered by gas, our hot water heating is gas, our hydronic heating is gas, we have a gas barbecue. I'm all for gas in the right setting. But in a wood-fired oven, there are some issues that I want to talk about when it comes to using gas to fire the oven, particularly in a domestic setting. So let me take you through a few of the issues with installing gas. It's not to say that it can't be done, but there are some things that you really need to be aware of. One of the first things to be aware of when you're looking at an aftermarket pizza oven gas burner is the cost of them. You'll find when you do your research, you'll find plenty of options. But even the most basic option with a simple knob and a button to start it will set you back about half the price of one of our ovens. And that's for the basic model burners. And you can spend more from there for the fancy ones with, electronic temperature control and so on. So that's something I would point out right away is the cost of them. The reason for that is not the burner itself. The burner is a pretty simple construction. It's a very simple thing. It's actually got the same mechanics as a forge burner, which you could get on eBay for a couple of $100s. What the forge burners don't have are safety shut-off systems. And that's what you're paying for when you're buying a good quality pizza oven gas burner from one of these aftermarket manufacturers. You're paying for the safety shut-off system. So when the flame goes out, the gas shuts off. And that is incredibly important for the good running and safety of one of those gas burners. Okay, so that's the first thing I would bring up is cost. They are quite expensive, and so do just keep that in mind when you're doing your planning and thinking about putting one in. The next thing to be aware of if you're thinking about putting in a gas burner in one of our ovens is the installation process, and that's actually reasonably straightforward. Two ways you could go about it. One way or the other, you do need to provision a hole through the floor of the oven for the burner to be installed in. Okay, typically that hole's around 4 inches diameter. It would depend on the burner that you're getting. So you can make that hole in two ways. Either you provision the hole at each stage of the build, so you make a hole in the bench top of the oven when you pour your concrete slab, for example, then you make a hole in the insulation layer, and you make a hole in the fire brick floor, and make sure all of those holes line up perfectly on top of each other. And that can be done. The other way of doing it is to not do that and build the entire floor of the oven. So get your floor tiles laid, let them set, and then get a core drill, a diamond core drill, to core a hole all the way through all of those layers, and that will be perfectly lined up. And that's the kind of thing that you can actually pay a professional to do. There are companies out there that specialize in concrete cutting and drilling that could do that for you at probably a fairly reasonable cost. So the installation side of it, that side of it's not so bad, but that's only half of the installation, making the hole for the burner to fit into. You then need to get the actual burner fitted, and that should be done by a professional plumber, okay, with the correct gas certificate. Now, it's going to vary. In every part of the world, the legislation around this is going to be different. And so I need to be careful in what I say. I don't want to get my small business into trouble by giving you bad advice. So I would recommend wherever you are in the world, seek advice from a local professional plumber. Ask them that question. I'm thinking about putting this particular gas burner in my oven. Can you do that for me? What are the rules? What do I need to know about? I can certainly tell you in Australia, it's a little complex. Firstly, you would need to get a type B gas plumber to come out and fit the burner for you. You cannot do that yourself. It must be done by the plumber. And they'll charge you, what they charge you for that. But then that's not the end of the story. Then they have to call out an inspector, and the gas inspector will come out and sign off the work to say that it's been done properly and that it's safe to use. Now, that might be a really simple tick and flick operation where they say, yep, looks great, enjoy your oven. That's your best possible scenario. The worst possible scenario, though, is the gas inspector comes out and says, I don't quite like all of this. In fact, there's not enough air supply to this area. We need to put in a new door here. Or, no, I don't like the proximity of, this piping to this area and so on. And they will not sign it off until they're completely happy. And so I've spoken for hours and hours to Type B gas plumbers and to gas certifiers. I'm actually good friends with one of the main certifiers in Victoria for gas, and his advice for me was just stay as far away from this as you can because it can just get really complicated. Now, it might not be the case in your part of the world. You might live in a lovely freedom-focused part of the world that doesn't need any of that, where you can do what you like. But just be aware that it may affect you, so do keep that in mind. So then we need to answer the question, does an aftermarket pizza oven gas burner do the job that you think it's going to do? One of my favorite customers, Emery in Alabama, America, he put in a gas burner in one of our P85 precast ovens. And he was adamant. He said, no, I'm going to do it. And he was very excited about it. He sent me drawings and photos of his progress and so on. And he was very, very excited about it. And I spoke to Emery about 6 months after he'd finished his oven. He'd completed his build, sent us all his photos. And we were chatting and I said, Emery, how's the gas burner going? And his response was, honestly, if I was to do it again, I wouldn't bother putting in the burner. He'd put in the burner for the two reasons that most people do. Convenience, because he thought it would make it easier to heat the oven up, and speed. He thought it was going to make it faster. And he came back to me and said, well, what I learned is that I can actually get the oven up to temperature faster using firewood. And it makes sense the way he explained it. He said, well, when you think about it, the oven, the burner, you can only turn it up to 10. The gas burner will only go to so much output. Whereas with timber fire, you could fill the oven with firewood if you really want to and get it absolutely roaring. And so in all his experimentation in that 6 months, he'd actually found that it was faster to get his oven up to temperature using wood. The other thing about ease and convenience, and I think that's the key. I think that's why most people start thinking about having a gas burner is, well, it just makes it easier. I can just come and turn it on. And I want to challenge that idea. Yes, I'm not saying that the method I'm about to give you is easier than pressing a button, but it's not far off it. If you follow our fire and forget firing method for heating up the oven, one of the key things that I tell you in that video, I walk you through a whole process, and I'll link that video in the description. I walk you through a process of firing up your oven, which basically involves putting big, heavy timber at the back of the oven, building a fort fire in front of that, like a log cabin style fire in front of that, and then propping a bunch of timber around that fort such that when the fort burns down, it collapses inwards and backwards. You light the fort and you can just let it burn. You don't have to do anything. You put a match in that and the fort burns first, so you start the fort first. That consumes all of the available oxygen. So the fort burns down and it preheats all of that big heavy timber around the back of the oven, bringing that up to a temperature that when the fort has sort of collapsed and has mainly burnt through most of that timber, there's all this oxygen available now for the big timber at the back, and that just takes off and roars. And so the fire and forget firing method is literally like turning the oven on. You just put a match in there, light that fort fire, and then let it burn. And that will preheat the entire oven for you. Now, what I wanted to mention was a key part of that video is what you do as the oven is cooling down, okay? And this is where future you will thank you, where you're organized, right? And responsible, and you've thought about the next firing that you want to do, and you realize you actually do want to use the oven again. So rather than just letting the oven go cold, as the oven's cooling down, once it comes down to around, just under 200 Fahrenheit or so, a temperature at which you're not going to start another fire. You empty all your hot coals out. If there's any little embers left, you empty that out of the oven and you build the next fire, right? Put the heavy timber at the back, build the fort fire, prop it all up in place, and then you take your door and you put it in the oven and seal it up. And now you're kiln drying your next fire. So when you come to use the oven again, firstly, you've sort of pre-done a bunch of the work, right? Because, hey, building the fire is a little bit of work, and you've pre-done that ahead of time. All you have to do is put a match in there and it will just take off because, hey, it's a good design of a fire, but it's also going to be so dry because it's had all of that heat, that residual heat in the oven. You've used that to dry out your firewood. And so that's why I want to challenge that thinking of gas is easier. Yes, it is easier in the sense that you don't have to build that fire. But once you get good at building the fire, you'll find it's actually pretty quick and it's quite enjoyable. It's quite a cathartic thing to come out, build that fire and watch it burning. Whereas, I don't know, turning on a gas burner and there's nothing really exciting about that for me. Something else Emery pointed out to me was the gas burner is not particularly good at getting heat into the floor of the oven. And so when you see these burners, they are a jet of gas that goes up into the dome of the oven and the flame will roll over the top of the dome. And it's very effective actually at getting heat into the dome of the oven because it's literally jetting heat straight upwards. But what about the floor of the oven? Well, the floor of the oven is then heated up by radiant heat from the dome. Okay, now I'm not going to go too far into heat transfer, although it's my favorite subject at university. There are three methods of transferring heat. You have radiant heat, you have convective heat, so that's hot air moving, or hot gas or liquid moving past a body. And then you have conductive heat or conduction. Those are your three methods: radiation, convection, conduction. And radiation is the least effective of all of them, right? Conduction and convection are much better. And the best possible method is conduction. I'll give you an example. If I was holding a red hot poker in my hand and I held it out sideways and I put my hand underneath it, the heat that I would be feeling off that poker would be radiating heat, because it's not hot air coming down to my hand, it's literal light waves impacting my hand and warming it up. If I put my hand above the red hot poker, now I'm feeling a combination of radiation and convection. So hot air is coming off the poker and it's touching my hand and warming it up. But what I'm not going to do, I'm happy to put my hand here and I'm happy to put my hand here because it's not really giving off a lot of heat. But if I grab a red hot poker, I'm going to know about it. And that's because conduction is the best method of transferring heat that there is. If you want to move a heat from one body to another, you just put those two bodies together and that heat will be transferred. And so it's the same for the ovens. If you want to heat the floor of the oven, the very best way of doing that is to have hot coals spread out on the floor, soaking the heat into the floor. That is the most effective way of getting heat into the floor of a wood-fired oven like the one behind me. Okay, so just another kind of a downside of gas burners is, yes, they can heat the entire oven with enough time, but they don't get a whole lot of heat into the floor of the oven. So just something to be aware of. The last thing that I want to talk about is safety of gas burners. They're typically used in a commercial setting where they're fired basically every single day. And in a commercial setting, that's actually very good for them. Keeping them going all the time means that they're just sort of experiencing consistent conditions and there's no downtime in which things like spiders can become involved. And you're like, whoa, hold on, Ben. We're talking about gas burners, but now talking about spiders. I was speaking to a man named Todd recently, a good friend of mine, and he was one of the first manufacturers of stainless steel ovens in America. He's a lovely man. And he shared a story with me about a lawyer friend of his. And he approached this friend of his, the lawyer, and said, oh, look, I'm getting a lot of people asking me about putting gas burners in my ovens. Do you think I should do it? And his lawyer friend said, well, look, firstly, my type of law is I sue corporations for bad products, for products that have hurt people. And he said, stay as far away from gas burners as you can because they are very easy cases for him to win, and he's won a whole bunch of them. The problem with a gas burner in an oven well, it's different to a gas burner in a barbecue, because you say, well, I've got a gas stove, I've got a gas barbecue. What's the big deal? This is just another burner. The thing, say, if we look at the barbecue has lots and lots of ventilation, particularly in the base. Gas is heavier than air, so if you just turn the gas on and somehow manage to keep it on with no flame going, the gas will largely just escape out of the base of the barbecue out into the atmosphere. So when it does finally ignite, if there is a fireball of some kind, it goes mostly down and out away from the barbecue, hopefully not injuring you. A wood-fired oven, on the other hand, does not have that ventilation. It's an enclosed space. So if you manage to fill that space with gas and then get ignition, then you have, and I don't want to use scary words, but you can imagine what would happen in that scenario. You could have a gas explosion, and that could vary from a horrible surprise to something that was downright dangerous. And so again, I'm not looking to be sued by anybody or gas companies or anything, but I think it's worth saying that you do need to be cautious. If you're going to install a gas burner, it's something you need to maintain very frequently. The case actually that the lawyer mentioned was the gas burners, if a spider builds a nest inside the burner when the burner's not being used, which it often isn't in a domestic setting, it can go for weeks without being used. He had the situation where a spider built a nest in the burner. The customer went to turn the gas on. The gas comes straight out because it's high pressure, but the ignition wouldn't work because the spider nest was impeding the spark. But eventually the spark got through. It just happened after all of this gas had already filled the oven. And so they can be dangerous. So now, that can be managed, okay? So I'm not saying don't install a gas burner. And I'm just saying if you do, it's something you do need to be cautious of and just understand the risks that are involved. The last thing that I will say about them is our ovens are actually UL accredited. We have UL certificates for all of our wood-fired ovens, but those UL certificates are contingent upon the oven being fired with solid fuel only. If you install a gas burner in one of our wood-fired ovens, the UL certificate is no longer applicable to you and you would not have the protection that that gives you. So please be aware of that as well if you're in America or Canada and maybe you're in a situation where you need the UL certificate, you would not be able to install a gas burner in our oven. But hey, there's plenty of places where you don't need the UL certificate, so that may not apply to you. But we just want to make you aware of that. So that's my little spiel on gas burners. I'm more than happy to discuss it further with you. If it's something you would like to talk about, please feel free to give us a call. You can call and speak to myself and my team about it. Because we value you and we value good customer service and support. So you may have a really good use case where you say, well, hey Ben, I live in a part of the world that it has 4 months of no burn days, 4 months of total fire ban where I can't burn solid fuel. I'd kind of like to use my oven during that time. Honestly, that's the best argument for using a gas burner, for having a gas burner in your oven is you live in a place like that. So feel free to reach out and talk to us about it. We'll be very open to chatting with you. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been informative, but do reach out to us with any questions you have.